Within just days of each other, two of the world's gaming console giants have hit us with their individual next-gen console hardware, with the announcement of the PlayStation 5 from Sony and Xbox Series X from Microsoft. In this video, we're going to be looking at the biggest differences between these two machines. It is already normal to find that consoles released in the same time window would usually have a lot of common features. But with the Sony PlayStation 5 and the Microsoft Xbox Series X, you'll be shocked to know that there are actually a lot of big differences that you should really know about. This doesn't mean that there are no similarities between the consoles. In fact, there are plenty. But for this video, we want to bring your attention to the differences. Just before we get to that, if this is your first time on this channel and you want to be the first person to know as soon as we upload a video, then hit the subscribe button and the bell to turn on post notifications. Have you done that? Perfect, let's get into today's video. The design. First off, we'll be looking at the design. The design of these two consoles couldn't be more different. The design for the PS5 is the outside the box and futuristic with its two-tone color design that was also adopted for the DualSense PS5 controllers, which we'll go into a little later on in this video. The console can be positioned both vertically and horizontally. The PS5 abandons the all-black design that was used from the PS2 through to 4. It is designed with a white exterior, giving it a very peculiar look. Some might argue about whether this looks good or not, and that's alright. Tastes differ, but it is definitely a design we have never seen before. If the idea was to surprise the fans, then it has worked out perfectly. Sony also offers two options for the consoles based on consumer preference. There is the option designed to take 4K Blu-ray discs. Then there is the digital edition that is completely discless, designed for gamers who prefer to stick with downloading all their games. While Sony opted for outside the box, Microsoft went right out and built a box as the Xbox Series X. In the history of consoles, nothing like this has ever been seen. The Xbox Series X is designed with a primarily vertical cube form factor. The primary position is to be vertical, but if your space can't accommodate the height, you can also lay it on its side. In its primary position, the design has air flowing out the top of the console, which is pretty efficient temperature management. Exclusives. Next, we will be looking at exclusives for each console, something we know you're eager to know about. Sony and Microsoft have very different ideas on how exclusives should work. As for the PlayStation, in the time of the PS4, Sony came at us with plenty of exclusives, and it already looks like we should expect the same with the PS5. The first reveal of this console showed us 18 PS5 games. Some might be available for other consoles later on, but others will only be available on the PS5. Stick around for later on in the video where we'll be taking a look at some of the exclusive titles that have been announced. As it stands, we are waiting to see more exclusives announced as the launch date gets closer, and the XGS progresses in the development of their upcoming games. On the side of Microsoft, they will be publishing all of its first-party games on the Xbox One in addition to the Xbox Series X. So, all the games will have to work on both consoles, at least for what we know at the moment. So, I guess we have to wait and see what announcements will be made in the future. Specifications. Regarding system specifications, as expected, a lot of the specifications on the two consoles are all next-gen, but almost the same. Nonetheless, there is still stuff that stands out for each. Sony was the first to come out with solid details about the PS5 in April of 2019. By the time of the Microsoft E3 29 showcase, we could see that both companies are quite on the same lane with the specifications. The PlayStation flies on the wings of a custom-built version of the third-generation AMD Ryzen chipset. It also packs in 8 cores with the new Zen 2 architecture and Navi graphics. The CPU runs at 3.5 GHz, while the GPU offers 36 compute units running at 2.23 GHz and offering 10.28 teraflops. All these parts are paired with 16 GB of GDDR6 RAM with a bandwidth of 448 GB a second, and the system will be able to support ray tracing. This is a performance-intensive technique that used to be the alternative for expensive high-end PC GPUs, which we are told is being built into the GPU hardware for the PS5. Other stuff we should see going into the PS5 is an immersive 3D audio system run by the Tempest engine, support for 8K resolution at 60Hz or 4K at 120Hz. With all these intense performance features, Sony offers what we feel is the major standout feature: their commitment to the use of SSD storage. The SSD of the PS5 will also be custom built, offering up to 825 gigabytes of storage with raw 5.5 gigabytes per second throughput. These are all clearly premium features. Your thoughts now might be whether Microsoft can compete with that. Well, don't bother. They have their own superpower features also. So here's what we know. The Xbox Series X will also be making use of custom AMD internals with the same Zen 2 and RDNA 2 architecture of the PS5. Also, this console boasts a GPU with 12 teraflops of computing performance, with 3328 shaders allocated to 52 compute units. The fun and unique thing about this GPU is that it runs at a locked speed of 1.825 GHz, so it will not be a fluctuating speed like most of the other GPUs. The Xbox Series X supports 120Hz refresh rates at 4K, but no 8K. This console also offers DirectX ray tracing capabilities, plus super fast internal NVMe SSD that can be used as a virtual RAM to carry more load. The standard RAM of the Series X is 16GB GDDR6, just like the PS5. We have to be honest, on paper, the Xbox seems to be doing a little better than the PS5, but we need to wait until the consoles are out so we can test how they actually perform. Games to expect. Both of these companies are going all out with the games that will launch with the console and how they'll launch. Starting with Microsoft's Xbox Series X this time, the company has confirmed the much anticipated Halo Infinite. Halo in itself is one of the biggest franchises from Microsoft, and after a long 5-year wait, we're now finally getting the Halo Infinite. This is a pretty big deal if you ask us. Another thing that consumers will really appreciate Microsoft for is backward compatibility for all their new titles. So even if you don't get the Series X, you can get the new games that come with it. Other third-party games on the console to expect include Vampire, The Masquerade, Bloodlines 2, Yakuza, Like a Dragon, Dirt 5, and The Medium. We expect to hear some new first-party announcements sometime in the summer, so keep your ears open. For Sony's PS5, on the other hand, there are already some launch games that we know of, and a lot more titles planned to be launched some months after the official launch of the console. One of the launch games we are sure of at the moment is Astro's Playroom, which will be pre-installed on every console. We also expect to see Destiny 2 Beyond Light, Madden 21, and NBA 2K21 from day one of launch. Down the line, we should also be seeing a new Ratchet & Clank game, Horizon Forbidden West, and of course, Spider-Man Miles Morales. In case you don't want to jump into all the new games immediately, you can get the PS5 experience on your old games since it's backward compatible. However, we aren't yet sure how backward the backward compatibility can go. The controllers. There is a pretty big difference between the controllers for these consoles. For the Xbox Series X controller, Microsoft hasn't gone far from what they designed for their older controllers. Unless you're keen on the details, you might not notice the slight change in ergonomics. You'll also see a share button at the center of the controller and a USB-C connection. The major difference we find on the controller is at the directional buttons. It is now a disc-shaped 8-way D-pad button by default. Apart from these, it is the same controller as the Xbox One, and it still runs on 2 AA batteries. The biggest plus for Xbox gamers is that if they have the controllers for any Xbox One, they won't have to purchase this new controller. Yep, all the Xbox One controllers are designed to be forward compatible, so they'll still function on the Xbox Series X perfectly. The only major thing they'll be missing is the newly added share button. The DualSense controller of the PS5 is the biggest deviation from the long-used DualShock. The initial model has a two-tone design and a bulkier form. but with a good number of added features. The DualSense gamepad has a built-in microphone, a redesigned share button that is now called the Create button, adaptive L2 and R2 triggers, haptic feedback, and a USB-C connection. Like its predecessor, the DualSense is powered by a built-in rechargeable battery. Sony has mentioned that this controller will have a longer battery life. We aren't yet sure just how long that will be. You may also be wondering if there is a headphone jack. Of course there is! Sony has retained the headphone jack on the controller for the PS5. Price. We have decided not to talk about the price tags for the consoles in this video, as nothing concrete has been officially released yet, although there are some rumours flying around. Well, that brings us to the end of this video. Comment PlayStation or Xbox in the comments section below to let us know which one you think is better and which one you will be buying. If you'd like to stay updated on the progress of these consoles, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on post notifications so you know when new videos drop. Thank you so much for watching this video, and we'll see you in the next one.